what was the biggest failure and the lowest low? And then what was the main thing that pulled you out of that? Like, how did you get out of it?
There was like that point where I was just like was depressed, didn't have anything to show for all my hard work, was being sued. All my friends and people had left the house, and I was just in this like big mansion. I was just like felt so empty, and there was definitely points where I was like really hated my life, demonetized off of YouTube because of like Logan's whole scandal and just everything that could have went wrong. And I think the only thing in that moment was really like boxing came into my life, which is why I feel like I owe everything to the sport of boxing because it gave me purpose. I had to focus on the fight. I didn't have time to like feel like a victim or oh, look at all these bad things happening to me. I just had to win, and I was surrounded by people on the same mission. So like the team and love aspect came back in, and I like felt like I had a group of people around me, and it also like healed the relationship with my brother slowly because instead of us fighting, it was like, no, we're on a team fighting these brothers. And all of this basically sort of like slowly brought me back to life. And so really like I think that's why I say it. Like people hate on it, but it's like I would be dead in jail if it wasn't for boxing.
It's so interesting because right here in our notes, we have it by your early 20s. It seems like you had it all, millions of dollars, millions of fans, a strong legacy. Why pivot to boxing? But you're saying it was essentially the exact opposite. Like you felt like you were lacking in all of those categories, and boxing was kind of the thing that pulled you out of that, that saved you.
Yeah, 100%. And I didn't feel um like I was living up to my fullest potential, like being a YouTuber, running around doing these things. And I feel like I could do more or do better in life or be respected more for my talents and my abilities. I don't think people like really saw the ingenuity behind everything that I was doing. And so I just felt like yeah, I felt lost and all this stuff, and in boxing, everything sort of started to
Do you
click.
think that people doubted you more as a boxer or when you were getting into YouTube?
I think people doubted me more as a boxer, just because I had already like been successful on social media. So I don't think anyone really doubted me as like a YouTuber. But it was like, no way can this kid box and beat someone up, and like he's just like a Disney
It
princess.
seemed like you really treated it though almost like a startup. Like you really invested heavily in yourself, trainers, diet, nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, anything I do, I try to maximize the systems to make it the most prosperous. I mean, that's what I did in YouTube is I saw what was working online, which was like MagCon, all of these like friend groups getting together. And that's essentially where I was like, all right, Team 10, everyone's gonna move into a house. So I would just always maximize like the best systems and create these different characters for people to follow along with and editors filming storylines. I would literally like write out storylines like a reality show for YouTube, and all of these things would go behind the scenes. And I take everything I do very, very seriously and am very competitive. So when I went into boxing, it was no different than YouTube essentially. It's I'm gonna have the best recovery, the best food, the best trainers. I'm gonna do it every day like I do with YouTube. Um, and it actually brought me back to my roots of being an athlete as a kid in Ohio. So,
How did you justify spending so much money on it when it was an unproven method?
well, it was less money than I was spending doing YouTube.
Mhm,
So I was kind of like
mhm.
whatever, but um, I definitely still had a lot to learn. But I just knew that I guess that's just the nature of a successful like if you go into a new thing, you're just gonna go as hard as you can at it.
How did you make sure you weren't going to get ripped off? Like you do an event and you don't get paid. Or like some lawyers like, oh, well, actually you signed this contract and you owe us $50,000. How do you make sure it's profitable?
Yeah, at that point in time, I think there started to become more trustworthy people around me, and I had the experience of being screwed over a bunch of times, and so I could just decipher things better. I think I got like a really good, like trustworthy lawyer at that time, so I just felt more comfortable in that, and I wasn't really focused on the money for the boxing match. It was more like, I'm just gonna win and beat this kid's.
But you still took somewhat of a financial gamble. I mean, you were fighting against the stigma of being like a YouTube boxer versus like a real boxer. Do you think you had to put in some groundwork and kind of financially support it in the beginning to take some lower paid stuff? And when did it start to actually financially make sense for you?
No, for sure. I mean, the first fight, um, yeah, I was basically like losing money on fighting, uh, for the first couple of fights, just with all the money I was investing into it and the camps and the coaches and all that stuff. And even now, it's like some fights you'll take, you're just like like not every fight is a massive money fight. That's people just always like see that um as, the headlines, whatever, and all of these things. So but when I go and fight Ryan Borland or Andre August, like I'm making money, but it's like not. It's you're doing it because I'm going to become world champion, and I have to stay active.
How true are some of the headlines? Like I saw one, it was in 2021 that said you made $40 million from 3 fights. Where do they pull
Like
those
three.
3 matches? 40 million from 3
That's
of them.
true. Yeah, yeah. I've roughly been averaging like around $40 million a year, for the past 4 years in boxing. The first like year and a half of boxing, I didn't make much, but that's I kind of guess
Yeah.
what your question was. Like I was definitely at a loss in the first year of boxing.
How does that change your perspective on money? And do you ever think like, oh man, why didn't I do this sooner?
I think everything worked out perfectly, right? Like if I didn't have my YouTube persona and following and everyone doubting me to become a boxer and people hating me from everything that happened in that world, I don't think I would be making as much. Like in boxing, the villain makes more. So I mean, that's why I purposely make people hate me and like play that role and be the bad guys, because what are you going to pay more? You want to pay for the pay-per-view or tune into Netflix to see the guy get knocked out that you hate. That fear and hate is a more powerful emotion oftentimes in people. So that's what I draw out of it, but it's a lot of money. And it's like I'm definitely blessed and grateful and all this stuff, but it feels like every bit of it was earned. Like I've worked my ass off for 12 years straight every single day, and then finally, everything clicks overnight, and then 8-9 years into it is when I like start feeling like I'm finally making what I deserve. So I feel like every single thing, every penny that I've made, I actually deserve more because of the amount of hard work that I've put in. And I think my biggest paydays are still to come for sure in the sport of boxing, but also in business, because every day I lay the foundation, and that's where people don't understand is like nothing is an overnight success. And the people who are billionaires and all this stuff, they earned that. They truly earned that.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot of hard work, and it was really cool to observe the change from you seemingly being like a YouTube boxer to like over time, as a couple years have passed, people are like, no, he's like a real boxer. I remember I was at a bar watching your fight with Mike Tyson, and some guys, random older guys, like right next to me, were talking. They're like, yeah, Tyson's just gonna show this kid like
Yeah,
what's up. He's gonna destroy him.
Yeah.
And then the guy he was talking to was like, no, I'm pretty sure he's like a real boxer now. And he's like, no, it's not going to happen. Yeah. And it was like on all of the screens in I think it was Red Rock Casino in Vegas.
That's
And that was cool to see.
It's funny too because I don't watch any sports whatsoever, but I've seen all of your matches.
Thank you, man.
Part of it, I don't know, is because there's like a YouTube camaraderie where it's like I want to see you fight.
I
But
appreciate
also, it seems like everyone I know is interested in your fights. The Tyson fight was massive. I probably had 15, 20 people over at the house watching it.
No, that was like a different level and a different scale. But I think because of my story and the uniqueness of it, more people besides the boxing audience are actually interested in the fighting and my story and to see how I'm going to do it, how am I going to perform. And it's just continued to grow and grow. And so I think that's the differentiator and why a lot more people are interested in boxing now and this new path that I've taken.
Now, with boxing, is it going to be similar to YouTube where like every time you have to amp it up a little more, a little more, a little more? Like, where do you see the trajectory going?
It's different, man. It really is. I think boxing is more patience. You can take your time. I can choose whoever I want to fight. And I'm more in control of my destiny. There's not like YouTube or any of these. I don't have to worry about 15 different creators in my house and all their problems. Like I can just actually focus on me. And I've been boxing for 5 years, right? Which is already double the amount of time that I daily vlogged. So it is interesting that some people don't even know that I was a YouTuber. Like genuinely, they haven't even watched my videos, but they've watched me fight. So I think I'm more known as a boxer now, which is pretty crazy. But I definitely want to amp it up and do bigger fights and challenge myself and become world champion. So naturally, I've set that as my goal, and I think it'll create such a crazy sports story where I go from zero, not knowing jabs and hooks and body shots and all these things, walking into a gym, and then 6 to 7 years later, becoming the best in the world. I want to do that just to inspire kids that they can go after something against all odds and accomplish it.
Now, this clip was brought to you by our sponsor, Opus Clip. Most people think Opus Clip is just a clipping tool, but it's way more than that.
It's actually a full-on AI video editor. It can pull your long-form content, find the best moments, add captions, B-roll, and even schedule your clips to post all automatically. It's basically your entire post-production team, but way faster and smarter.
We use it ourselves to turn long episodes like this with Jake Paul into high-performing clips. And right now, they're celebrating their 2-year anniversary with a huge giveaway. They're handing out $5,000 in cash prizes, exclusive swag, and even a MacBook Pro to one lucky winner.
And everyone who joins gets free credits just for participating. All you got to do is head to opus.pro/clip-the-future right now to learn more and enter the contest. Again, that is opus.pro/clip-the-future. We also have a link down below in the description. You can just click it there. Huge thanks to Opus Clip for sponsoring this clip.